Hey stamping friends, my name is Linda Dolke. I'm a demonstrator with Stampin' Up in Australia, and today I wanted to share how I made this card here. I'll just bring it in close so you can see it. This card has actually had so many reactions on my Instagram page. I'm quite shocked. So I thought I'd show you how I made it. It's easy, but just a few steps to it and a little bit of technique. So let's get started. So today we're going to be doing this cool card, the one I just showed you, and this has been so popular. I'm really excited that so many people enjoyed it. I thought I'd show you how I made it. It's not a difficult card, but there's some emboss resist technique here in making the poinsettia, and I've also combined the poinsettia petal stamp set today with this paper in the background, which is from a different suite. This is called the Snowflake Splendor suite. If you're looking for these, they're in the current August to December mini 2020, and you can also click on the link in my description below if you'd like to go shopping for these things and you're in Australia, because my shop is Australia based. Here it is. This is the Snowflake Splendor Suite. Here is the paper. It's currently marked down to $17 here in Australia. Normally it's $20, so it just saves you a few dollars, but if you were looking at getting several packs, it can be definitely worthwhile. It'll cover more than your postage if you're doing that. And then also here at the front of the catalogue, we have the Poinsettia Place stamp set and the matching dies. Okay, I'm using both of these today. I'm also going to use the beaded pearls for the center of my poinsettia, so you'll see me use those in a little bit as well. All right, let's get started. First of all, you're going to need half a sheet of cardstock, Whisper White. I've used the Whisper White Thick. I think this makes a really good card base. Now, if you're in Australia, this is half a sheet of A4. Or Europe. If you're in the US, however, you'll know that you need to use letter size cardstock. And I'll just bring in my bone folder and give that a crease so it sits nice and flat, and pop it aside for now. All right, then I'm using a piece of Highland Heather cardstock. In Australia, the measurements for this are 10 centimeters wide by 14.3, and this is from the Snowflake Splendor paper. This is actually, I've used, you can see, you could use the other side if you wanted to, but I wanted to use the side that had the Highland Heather or the mauve sort of tones in it to go in with the paper here. So that's how I made that work. It's beautiful, beautiful paper. If you wanted to have a very quick look at it, here it is. Absolutely stunning. Blues, purples, white. It's just gorgeous, and there's like lots of watercolor kind of atmospheric backgrounds. Just stunning, stunning, stunning paper. Love it. So even if you're not into the wintry look, you can certainly get still lovely backgrounds with these really atmospheric looking papers. All right, so I'm actually going to go ahead and I'm just going to use my adhesive to quickly pop this straight onto this sheet. For that, I'm using seal adhesive today. You can use whatever adhesive works well for you. When I use this, I start sort of low down, and at the end I tip it up, and that snaps it off easily, so that you can use it again. If you're getting a big string like mozzarella cheese of the adhesive, it just means you need to tip it at the end, so you kind of stop that from happening, and then it will work beautifully for you. It's really good adhesive, much stronger than the snail we used to have. All right, so I've got this ready to go, and I've got my card base. Let's set those aside. And now I'm actually going to work on the poinsettia itself. So with that in mind, I'm just using a piece of Whisper White cardstock. You can use shimmery white, that looks really nice. It'll give you a shimmery look all over, but I've just used normal Whisper White. And from the stamp set, I've already got them on the block, so I'm using the two largest poinsettias. So you can see it's quite large. I've got this one here, and I've also got the medium sized one. There's a smaller one as well. What I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in a piercing pad. A piercing pad means that I'm going to get a nice solid stamp when I do this. If I do it just on my tabletop, or even just on my grid paper here, I might not get as good an image. So this way I get a really good image. Now for this, I'm using Versamark. Versamark is fantastic for embossing because it's a sticky ink, and it's actually clear, which means you can work with any colored embossing powder and it will stick to it. Just make sure you ink it up really, really well. and then I'm going to stamp this. You probably won't be able to see a whole lot happening because it's going to be clear on white, which really doesn't show like anything's going on, but I promise you something has happened. And I'm going to do that again with the medium-sized one. A lot of people like embossing because it's kind of like, looks like magic. It's really amazing when you see the embossing start to appear. Alright, so I've got my 2 poinsettias on there. It looks like nothing, I know. But now what I'm going to do is pop the lid back on my Versamark, and I'm going to bring in my embossing powder. Now you could use a number of different embossing powders for this. You could use silver, that would look really pretty. You could use white, but I'm actually using clear today. Now you're probably thinking, well, why clear? Clear is great for the emboss resist technique, and I'll show you why in just a second. It actually provides you with a beautiful shiny line of embossing that works great with any colour. Alright, so I've got one there. I'm going to turn this around and do the other. You might be able to see them a little bit now because the powder's sticking to the image. If you haven't done embossing, if embossing is new to you, definitely check out some tutorials on how to do it. It's one of my favourite techniques still after all this time, was always one right from the start. Now what I would want to do, if I've got any extra powder sticking around, is I can get a brush and sort of just, and I can also flick over the back and make sure that I've got all the powder off. But for this technique, because it's clear powder, it doesn't matter too much because it's not going to show up all that much. What I need to do now is I need to heat it, and I'm using a heat tool for that. So we do sell these, you can get them anywhere, but this is a particularly good one. It's got the protection on the end, safety, and it's not expensive really by comparison. So I'm going to heat these up, and let's get some music going, and I'll speed up the camera for you. Now it might be hard to see, but it is there. I hope you can kind of see the images starting to show up. The next step though is going to make them really easy to see. I'm going to be using a sponge dauber. You can see I've used this one for purple already, but you know, just get a fresh sponge dauber if you don't already have one that you keep for purples. And I'm going to start with my lighter colour. Now I've got two colours here. I've got Highland Heather and I've got Gorgeous Grape. Gorgeous Grape works really well with Highland Heather. It's just a darker, stronger colour. So I'm going to start with the lighter one, which is pretty standard to start with the lighter one. And I'm going to put my dauber into it, which means I've picked up some ink here. I'm going to just sort of make sure I get the very, very strongest part of the ink off. And then I'm going to start very, very carefully, and I'm going to sponge my colour over my embossed image. So I'm just being really gentle with it, and you should be able to see the image suddenly appearing from the page. How's that looking? That's looking pretty nice actually. So now it's time to cut this out, and what I'm going to do now is bring in my cut and emboss machine, and we'll just get these things out of the way, and we're going to cut out these shapes. Okay, I've got my cut and emboss machine. For anyone who doesn't know, the sides do fold up. I've got mine already down and locked into place. And then I have my base platforms. I have platform number 1, platform number 2, then I have a base platform. This is number 3. Can you see the number 3 there? So it's really easy to actually get these sorted where they need to go, because they're all numbered and just go in the number order. However, today, because I'm cutting something and I want to line it up, I'm going to use my magnetic plate. Now this is my magnetic plate. It has already been much loved and much used and that's okay. So when you're using the magnetic plate, you actually replace the bottom clear plate, this number 3, you're going to replace it with the magnetic plate, which is number 5. You might be wondering what's happening with number 4. Where did that go? Number 4 is for embossing, like for dry embossing, not heat embossing. So that's the reason that I'm not using that one today, because we're not doing that. All right, so here's my poinsettia dies. Let's bring them in. And I'm going to be using the medium one here and the large one. There's also these details that emboss into the shape as well, and that's for, we'll do that one a different time, but that's also a nice look as well. But today I just want to cut them out, and I'm just looking to see which way I'm going to go. So you just need to line them up. There you go, that's the way. That's the one I want. All right, and because it's magnetic, I can line it up, and it's not, once I have it in place, that's not going to move. It's not as strong a magnet as the old magnetic plate, but that's good, I think, because I think sometimes this, I think, goes this way. Yep, that's right. Sometimes it's good to have it not quite as strong, and it still holds enough. It's going to hold in place to do that. So I'm going to put my other clear plate on top, and I'm just going to wind those through. And the thing I do like about this machine by comparison to the old one is quiet, very quiet and very smooth, very easy to turn. Anyone can do this. It is definitely an easier turning than the old machine. All right, so I've got those out now, and I'm just going to get rid of that. If anyone has any questions about the cut and emboss machine, just sing out, let me know. All right. So I've got my 2 beautiful poinsettias. And what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be layering them one on top of the other like this. All right. Now for this, I find glue dots the easiest way of doing this. Here I have my glue dots right here. So I'm going to put a glue dot, just find one. I'm going to put my glue dot here underneath this little guy. So there he is. And I'm going to layer it on top of this one, but instead of lining up the petals, I'm going to offset them so they're kind of in between. The upper petals are in between the lower petals, like that. Okay. Now that is going to be the poinsettia that ends up on the card. So you can see it's starting to look like this one. This one I actually did it lighter. I have done this one a bit darker and brighter today, and I actually really like that. I think that's very, very pretty. All right, now in the interest of time, I've already cut this shape. You can see it here. This is from the Stitch So Sweetly dies. If you're looking for a really good set of dies that's going to give you a whole bunch of really versatile labels, I thoroughly recommend these. That's the one I've cut this shape with, the largest one, but you can see they all fit inside each other, and then these are like stitched and scalloped rectangles. Absolutely beautiful. And they all come in the one set, so it gives you lots and lots of options, and I find I'm using them quite a lot. All right, so let's start to assemble our card. We've got our piece of Highland Heather, and we're going to be putting this kind of in the middle, ever so slightly to one side, so I've got room here for my beautiful shape. Now I do want to stamp on this, and I'm wanting to stamp this Magic and Wonder Bloom This Holiday, which I think is very pretty, and I've already got that on my block here. And for that one, I'm going to use my darker ink, the Gorgeous Grape. So let's grab that. And what I did was I didn't center this because I wanted to make sure I had room for my flower. So putting this under again, we're going to put this, and you can see if you look at this one here, I've actually moved it so that the word holiday is kind of right in this little square here. So I'm going to do that here as well. I apologize if my head is in the picture, but I'm moving this to one side. It kind of looks weird, I think, when you do this, but isn't that a nice sentiment? See how it's to one side? I just want to make sure that I have room for my poinsettia just above here. All right, so let's get these happening. First of all, I need dimensionals, and I'm going to pop a couple of them. Oh, I'm going to pop a couple of them under here. Now, before I put this on, I haven't taken the backs off them yet. Before I put this on, I also want to draw your attention to the ribbon. This ribbon is absolutely beautiful. It's from the Snowflake Splendor suite, and it is called Snowflake Splendor Ribbon, I believe. Yes, that's correct. Absolutely gorgeous. When I saw this in the catalogue, I didn't get it straight away because I had no idea how beautiful it was. It's kind of iridescent. So you've got mauves and blues and greens, and it's just beautiful. And yet it's sort of white ribbon with all these beautiful iridescent shiny colours. So you might notice that my ribbon is kind of looped underneath. So it kind of started here like this. And then I kind of looped it over, looped, and then looped again, and then out here. Okay, so I just need to grab my scissors. And here they are. So I'm going to snip that off here. That's where I want it to kind of go. If you're not sure, always snip it a little bit longer. You can always cut it shorter later, okay? All right, so now if I hold that in place, and you can see all these bits on the back here, I'm actually going to throw some more dimensionals to actually stick those down. So I'm going kind of over the edge of the ribbon, like this. And I'm holding it in place, and that's going to sit quite nicely. Take the backs off my pieces. Actually, I might go one more. I just want to make sure that's not going to go anywhere. All right, so can you see that I don't want to put it right in the middle because that's going to be too far over the edge. So I just want to go a little bit to the right, and I'm going to stick that down right there. Okay, now this little guy as well, I want him to be the same height as this, so I'm going to pop dimensional behind him as well. So really we're just putting it all together now. All the work is done. And you kind of just want to turn it so that you're not covering your words. Just like that. You can kind of fiddle around with these and make them go a little bit of a different place if you need them to. It's looking really pretty though. All right, to finish it off, I've got these gorgeous snowflake, the beaded pearls, not snowflakes. They're called beaded pearls, and they're from the Poinsettia Place suite. And I'm going to use a glue dot on the back of one of these. They're really heavy. They're quite a heavy embellishment, but don't worry, the glue dots will hold them perfectly well. So I'm going to just pop that in the middle of that. We're nearly there. Now, what is missing, I've taken the liberty of already cutting these. These are also from the poinsettia dies. We've got this kind of little sprig of berries, and one of the, there's two different sizes of leaves, and there's a little piece that embosses those as well. So you can see them. Let me grab them for you. So that's these little berries here, and then this little, the smaller, there's a larger one as well, but the smaller of the leaves with the embossed detail. Okay, really, really nice. And I've actually done these in silver, but you could also do them in champagne. That would look nice as well. So I'm just going to put a couple of glue dots on the back of those, and I'm going to throw that up under here so it kind of sticks out and stays just there. And then I'd like some of this, the sprig, the other one, I'd like him going kind of under here and just appearing a little bit out of the top. So I'll use glue dots for that as well. And you just kind of want to grab a couple just so that it will stay where you want it to. And let's throw that, kind of lift that there and throw that in. If you need to shorten the stem, that's fine, you can do that. But that's going to sit just like that. Okay, now the last thing, I don't know if you can see on here, but I've got some little tiny iridescent snowflakes, these little snowflake sequins. They're really, really cute. All right, also in the August to December mini, and I'm going to throw a few of those on as well. So we've actually got a couple of options here for you. I've got the little snowflake sequins that I'm talking about, which I think they're just sort of understated but add a little bit of glitz. But if you wanted to, you could also add some of the blue adhesive back gems. They're really pretty, and I'd probably go with the, not the pretty peacock ones, but the balmy blue ones, which is very, very pretty. So either of those will work really well for you. But let's just add a couple of these little gems. And they have adhesive on the back, so really easy to use, and you can put them wherever you like. If you've got any little blobs that you want to hide, then of course that's always a good plan. Right, just like that. How nice is that? It's just beautiful. I'm going to use some more seal over the back here. Just have to make sure when you start that it's sticky. Here we go. Lift. And if you're lifting each time, you should have no trouble going again. All right. Ah, look what I did. I stuck my piece of paper in the ink pad. That's a very me thing to do. So I'm going to turn over and use the other side and pretend that we didn't know about that. And I'll probably fix that up by adding a different piece of cardstock on the back. But that's very me thing to do. And there we go, another beautiful card. Isn't it lovely? I just think it's such a pretty card, and I hope you liked it too. Really, the paper, the colours, and the embossing and all the nice little shiny touches just add so much to this card and make it very special. So there we go. I hope you enjoyed that today. I'll have lots more coming up for you. I have so many ideas in my head. Sometimes I wonder how I managed to keep them all in there. But anyway, I hope that you enjoyed that today. And back soon. Bye.